All right, everybody, welcome back. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Game2Give Destiny lore panel. My name is Kaz PhD here, and we've got an exciting panel for you tonight. We're going to be talking about Destiny's lore, Destiny's story, anything old, new, anything related to recent seasons or old content. If you've got questions, feel free to add them in. Our moderators should be popping up how to do that in a moment. And we are raising money for charity tonight, so if you can donate, please do. If you can share the link, it's popping up in the channel right now. $10 donation or more enters you into a bunch of different prize draws. So get people to donate in your name. So, some of you may be new and you might not know who I am. Kaz PhD here. I've been playing Destiny since The Taken King. And I stream most nights here and I make YouTube content focused on exploring different aspects of the lore, which I'm sure is a common theme you're going to hear. So, with that underway, let's introduce my panelists in order of when they joined the voice chat. So, TowerMom, why don't you let's start with a voice test here. Go ahead and say hi, and then introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm TowerMom. Can you hear me?
Yep, that's working perfectly.
Awesome. So, hi, I am TowerMom. I have been playing Destiny for just over a year now, but I have been interested in the game and the lore since pretty much it came out. My best friend is a GameStop manager and got me into all the lore and stuff like that. But I've been an active player in both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 for only about a year, so I'm a new light. But I love learning about all the story and stuff like that. I also stream here on Twitch under the same name, TowerMom, and I have a YouTube channel where I play all kinds of video games under the name Basti Dragon. So that is me.
Awesome, great. All right, thanks. And our second panelist for today, Hyper, why don't you go ahead?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Am I coming in through?
You are working for me. Chat's being pretty quiet. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, can you hear me still? Sorry.
Yeah, you're great.
Okay. Anyway, I am Hypersyntax, HYP3RSINT4X. I have been a Destiny player. I'm one of those people who have been playing since the beta of Destiny 1. So I am a bit of a veteran guardian as it comes out. But I've been really interested in the lore. Got into it around Rise of Iron, and it was around that time where lore really was taking off and people were talking about it a lot more. And I thought, what's going on here? Let's take another look at Destiny, because prior to that, unless you were going online into the online grimoire on Bungie.net, there really wasn't much to look into. Finally started taking a look at things and realized, wow, there is so much going on, and I haven't looked back since. As far as my online content is concerned, I host a video game-based podcast called Video Game Crosstalk, the monthly podcast of gamers talking tech, science, and whatever else comes to mind. I bring on different people that work in various industries, be it the science or engineering or a few game devs, streamers, cosplayers, and we talk about all sorts of different things. Like I said, it's kind of focused around video games, but rather than just doing video game reviews, we talk about the business, some of the technology behind it, and how it applies to the rest of the business and industry as a whole. I also have started making some Destiny lore videos, and rather than trying to tackle on the newest lore that's coming out, I've actually decided to take a little bit of a twist. And TowerMom, this may be of interest to you since you've been playing Destiny for only a year, and that is taking a look at some of the older lore, but through the lens of what we know today. So I actually went back and did another 5-part series talking about the Books of Sorrow, but that set of videos that came out was only a few months ago. So it's all that we've learned up to this point, but let's go back and review some of the original lore and some of the older lore of Destiny to help some of the newer Guardians kind of get back up to speed. And that's me again. I am Hypersyntax, HYP3R SINT4X.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're Trams, you're funny. You got to get in here, Trams. Trams87 will be joining us as well soon. He's just finishing up some work. But yeah, TowerMom, Hyper, I'm really excited to have you guys here. This is the first time that either of you have really joined me. I mean, a couple of you, popped into our community and into the chat every now and again. But it's nice to be able to host content with you. And yeah, I'm excited to explore all of this together. So, chat and both. I need a better word. Lore panel, the council. Just let me know if there's any issues here. I'm just kind of wandering around the Cosmodrome while we talk. So if any of the noise is clipping through or whatever, you just let me know. Yeah, okay. Well, let's get started then. I guess that's a really good introduction from both of you. So I guess the general elephant in the room is let's talk about Beyond Light. Let's talk about Season of the Hunt. How are you guys feeling right now about the state of story and lore in Destiny? Like, has it been, a couple of seasons ago, I think we were all just watching the paint dry and waiting for something to happen. Now, I personally feel like I'm having to sprint just to, keep up. But yeah, how are you guys feeling about it?
Sorry, I'm logging into Twitch right now.
No worries.
Right now, man, Destiny has fully embraced the dark narrative at this point. They have fully embraced it. And it has been a long time coming for us to actually start working with the darkness. It's something that's been kind of hinted at and suggested for years now, but to really actually be wielding the light is really exciting. That said, it's so exciting. The first time we saw a pyramid ship on the moon, I was playing with my brother and we both just stared at it for about 30 seconds to a minute because it was that impactful for us. So before I keep talking, I will ramble. So TowerMom, what are your thoughts?
So I think just as a game in general, Beyond Light is almost like in my opinion, a crowning achievement. Just as a gameplay, from the gameplay aspect. From the lore aspect, there has been so much coming in, and on the one hand, it feels like I'm overwhelmed because there's lore now even for armor pieces. I'm going in, I'm getting the Cinder Pinion gloves, and I'm seeing the lore for that. I'm getting the Gambit armor, I'm getting the Vanguard armor for the strikes, and each one of those pieces has lore. Then you have the seasonal armor that has lore for each piece. But at the same time, it's like you earn it at such a rate that it's easily accessible and it's easily consumable as like reading material. And I think that makes like gaining the lore so perfect. You don't have to feel rushed to get any new lore or to get any new weapons or anything like that. Yes, we get the weapons and the quests, but then there's also additional weapons you can earn from bounties. Not to mention, like I said before, the gameplay aspect, the graphics updates, the locations, the new art that's coming out. I really think Beyond Light is huge for Bungie, and to do what they've done from home over just like a year blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, most of us are just learning new ways to be bored while at home, right? And they're coming out with basically almost a sequel, essentially. New location, new systems, Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely a sequel. This, like, in one of their kind of reveal streams, or when they were really discussing Beyond Light, this is basically what Destiny 3 would have been. But they're sticking with Destiny 2 because they don't want to start all the way from the beginning.
Yeah, which I think was the right call. I mean, I still feel like there's a lot of life left in Destiny 2, and moving to a new game has some advantages. You can start fresh and etc. But it also means you have to start fresh. You have to do everything all over again. And I mean, I've seen a lot of people just say, just drop the 2, just make it Destiny Universe, Destiny, just and I don't know, like bringing in everything would be a challenge, but yeah. And I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to gush a little bit as well on something a little later. But yeah, just the kind of game and the kind of community that Destiny is, I feel like it could support just bringing it all together. There's a wider view to the universe of it. But that's a bigger topic that I want to jump into later. But I agree. I mean, yeah, no matter how much toxicity we see online and etc., and how fast some of the people that get burning through the content. I mean, the fact is,
oh, good lord, yeah.
Yeah, the fact is, it's ridiculous. It's amazing how much we have. And I mean, yeah, a lot of content, if you think about it, was taken away if you go by, all the planets that were vaulted. But the systems that have been put in place and replaced with it, yeah, I think truly amazing. And it's an interesting point you bring up, TowerMom, about like the lore, like on the armor that you can get. You can kind of get it week to week and explore that story. One thing that's interesting is I was making this joke on stream the other day. Destiny's lore has always been, it's always been a lot. It's always like writing in games usually happens after the game, like at least the concept of the game is made. You go to a writer and you're like, okay, look, they got space powers and they got to protect people. It's like, all right, and they work from there. Unfortunately, most games they don't start with the story. It's just how it is. I feel like with Destiny, it was like, even if you accept that that's the way they did it, they're like, yeah, guys, it's Halo 2.0. Like, okay. I feel like the writer was, I don't know, like sitting on like a 6,000 page manuscript or something. He's like, I just need to find I just need to find out where I can put this. If Tetris calls and they want Tetris 2.0, I will make it work. And then someone did way more homework than you expected. And but I feel like even now, the lore we're getting, all of it is, there's very little like it's tiny
phenomenal.
Lore. Yeah, and what I mean by tiny lore is there's very little like inconsequential lore. You get like a random armor piece, and you're like, oh my god, this confirms this. Or you get like a random dialogue, and you're like, what? I didn't know that. Like, I have to admit, as someone who, likes to be kind of knowing what's going on, it was, I mean, it's a good thing ultimately, but I will admit that for the weeks leading up to Beyond Light and the first couple of weeks of Beyond Light, I was just like, oh my god. Like I never like to leave a notification unread on my phone, for example. And with the lore, it's kind of the same thing, because somebody's going to come into chat and be like, Kaz, did you see that, I don't know, Zavala was an EXO? And you're like, what? Yeah, it's right here. It's like, and it's just,
right?
There's just, so... Yeah, I mean, and this is a comment that most people feel about the lores. They do feel it's a bit overwhelming, but I have to say that the lore that's coming out is amazingly written. It's well presented and delivered, and yeah, I think now is the best time to be jumping into both the game and the story and lore of the game, because the New Light experience really helps to bring you up to speed, and ever since, honestly, Season of Arrivals and onward have done a really good job of being like, hey, yeah, enjoy the pew pew pew, but while you're doing that, I'm just going to throw some dialogue in the background that explains what you're doing and why, just in case. Like I had someone tell me that they didn't know what was going on, and I was like, do you have the game muted? This was last season. I mean, I wasn't...
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't trying to chastise them, but I was like, if you've done the Prophecy Dungeon, if you've done the weekly story quest, or you've done the public event, somebody is telling you what's going on. And they were like, oh yeah, that's true. I'm usually chatting with friends or whatever. But I'm really happy with the fact that we're getting things presented to us and explored in a deeper way.
Absolutely. You were stating about like, people not listening to the dialogue. Something I've noticed, especially with, going to Europa now, is the idle dialogue
Mm.
is really important to sit and listen to. If you sit and listen to the radio transmissions, that little yellow radio
Mm-hmm.
that
Mhm.
Elsie has next to her, there's some really interesting just idle dialogue, stuff from Shah Han to bring in where you're at, talking about how he's not sure how Guardians wielding the darkness is, going to be a good thing for us, and the fact that he's very much a supporter of the Vanguard. I've heard dialogue from Spider that was interesting with regards to the Season of the Hunt stuff, and wondering about if there's any of those Wrathborn things, in other locations besides the shore and the Dreaming City. Like, that's some really interesting just idle chatter to listen to.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's all very important, even if you're just sitting there doing nothing or going through your inventory. You definitely want to try and sit there and listen to some of that. Even just as a casual player, it's cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I mean, oh, so many tangents I could go off on that one, but I mean, well, okay, the new light experience. So one thing that we've been pushing for a lot on in my community is trying to help people catch up on the lore and trying to help them catch up on the story. And I think Destiny starts off. Destiny 1 started off from a place of, this is a mysterious universe. Get used to it. It's very. I've talked with other people about how, like, games like Dark Souls. Dark Souls, you wander around, there's an apocalypse, you don't really know why or how, and it's up to you to kind of piece it together over time. And Destiny kind of felt like the same. And I think there's an inherent mystery in Destiny that's kind of both vital to the game and to the world, and just built into a lot of the game itself. But it's really nice that they're taking the time to say, okay, look, here are some fundamentals. Then, if you haven't done it, chat, the New Light campaign, you can go pick it up at the Tower kiosk. It is short and it is sweet. It is great. It tells you everything. It tells you, okay, look, you're a Guardian. Here's Zavala. Here's what he does. Here's like Korra and Shax and Drifter. And it really helps you acclimate to the game. And then from there, yeah, all that idle dialogue. I mean, everything Varric says, everything Shawhan is saying. Even they've been doing a little bit with more established characters as well. It's really good for filling in the blanks, and it's really good for making the world feel more alive. Yeah, like.
Can I say something as someone who played the New Light quest when it came out originally last year?
Yeah.
I felt that as a New Light last year, I had absolutely no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
It was, yeah, I had to have my hand held, because you just come in, you make your character, you spawn into the tower, and you just get this whole influx of quests, and you have no idea what to do, where to start,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. I still have I still have a few last year's New Light quests still on my Warlock, and I've been playing her as my main for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Wow.
comparing it to this year's New Light experience, so much different, so much better. They did such a great job. Like you said, just bringing that in.
All right, so as like a Destiny veteran, what is the New Light experience? I have not had a chance to do the New Light experience for myself,
Yeah.
just because limited gameplay time. And to
you'll
Cass's
love
point,
it.
it is. It really is. When you started in Destiny 1, everything was new. You really did start off as a guardian who was just risen outside the Cosmodrome. Okay,
Yep.
there's get up, start moving, get into the wall. Here, there's falling. Grab that random rifle that's sitting kind of next to you, and we're gonna get through. We're gonna get to this drop ship, and we need to get out of here.
Yeah,
And you build little by little from there. So now, with so much established lore, gameplay, worlds, like everything's in place. Tower Mom, can you go over what the new light experience is now for new players?
Sure. So, and you're gonna love this as a Destiny veteran. And Kaz, I'm sure you had the feels when you started playing the new light experience as well,
yeah,
because I know you said you're a Destiny veteran as well. So you do drop in brand new, right in the Cosmodrome. Your ghost comes and finds you, just like in Destiny 1.
Nice. Okay.
Very similar dialogue. Very similar dialogue. The quests themselves are, I would say, the first 3 or 4 missions of Destiny 1. You come in and, you drop in, your ghost wakes you up, you get that eyes up, Guardian.
Mhm.
I'm a ghost. Now I'm your ghost. that dialogue that just gives everyone who's played Destiny shivers,
Oh yeah.
that eyes up Guardian. But there's a difference. You meet Shahan. Instead of getting the ship like you do in Destiny 1, you meet Shahan, who's a veteran guardian, and he's trying to find his fire team. I don't want to try and spoil too much, but once you meet Shahan, then you have to do some bounties.
Yeah,
get yourself
and to jump
acclimated to the Cosmodrome.
Yeah,
and
It's the usual tutorial stuff.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the usual tutorial
it's
stuff
well
that's not usually in Destiny, right? I mean,
Yeah,
but
there's that.
but yeah, it's actually so it's kind of brilliant because in Destiny 1, you get into that room where you end up fighting the Archon and you get your ship, right? Well,
Okay.
in this case, as soon as you get there, there's no ship, there's no Archon. You hear a distress call.
Oh, all right.
And then you go and
Yep.
you meet Shaw, who's trying to get, reunite with his group, and you continue from there. And like mechanically and story-wise, it's brilliant because first off,
Absolutely.
it does things like, and chat, we're gushing over something that's in most games, but that's because Destiny has a lot of systems. It's systems within systems. But they teach you, here's how you can equip stuff, here's how you can compare stuff, here's how you can inspect a weapon to check out what its perks are. If you go pick up any bounty from Shaw, they tell you what they are, and in blue text, they give you extra information. They tell you, hey, public events, there's a secret way to make them heroic, go figure it out. So you don't get your hand held, but you get that, you get that explanation that it's there, and that's been sorely needed. And then story-wise, you eventually go back to the tower. Shaw's like, great job, you should go meet the Vanguard. You get to the tower, and you literally get briefed. Your ghost is like, let's go talk to this character. You go talk to Zavala, and he introduces himself and what strikes are about. And your ghost gives you context about who you are, who these people are, what you need to do, etc. And by the end of it, you can go back and help Shaw, and that ends up working toward an exotic quest. Or you can go and do whatever you want, but at least at this point, they've explained what everything is. Because as TowerMom was saying, in last year's New Light experience, it was just like, yeah, here's a quest, go do strikes. And you're like, what are strikes? Why do I need to do them? Well, now it's like, okay,
where do I find it?
Yeah, where do I find it?
How do I get into a strike?
The thing that bothered me so much was that technically last year, New Light players had access to 3 free campaigns, but they only knew about that if they went and visited Amanda Holiday, who would say, hey, here's some campaigns, go do them. If you didn't do that, you didn't know. You didn't know where you could get started. But now it tells you, okay, like here's where you can go, and you can go off, and it's yeah, it's a much better experience, and it's great, as I said, for both new light and veterans, because you get to see the differences, and yeah, it gives you even veterans. There's a lot of players who play this game who miss out on, they don't get things. They never stop to think about the lore, or they came in at a random point in the game. So it's a really good catch up as well, to be like, this is what these characters are for. This is how this works, and yeah, it's been it's a much improved experience. Yeah.
One of the other cool things about the new light, when you come into the tower initially, you get your own private instance. So nobody else is there except for the vendor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't actually notice that the first time. Tower, I think your audio cut out there, unless you were finished with your sentence, but I got an audio spike on my end.
Likewise.
Okay, well, we'll see if she's back. She's probably just
Okay.
explaining it. But yeah, I mean, I had forgotten about that, but that's a good point. And it's a lot of little stuff like that. So I'm really happy with it. I'm glad that they've done it. And I mean, if you're a new light player, it teaches you how to play the game, basic systems, who players are, and they wrapped in the Risk Runner exotic quest, which allows me to segue into a question that was popped up from chat. Somebody asked about an arc conductor. If you do the New Light quest, at some point you work with Shawhan and you find an arc conductor. Basically, he says it's a piece of Golden Age technology that the Hive were trying to, steal away with. And the question from, I think it was Delta, was asking, what do we do with that thing? No spoilers, but if you continue working on the quest with Shaw, he will find a use for it, and you will be able to reap the reward of that. It's a quest.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. TowerMom, you with us? Let me check. She may have messaged. Let's take a look. Yeah, okay. Well, she might come back. I know she's dealing with her munchkin, and she's also connecting with us through the phone, so who knows what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, but you sound like you had something you wanted to jump into right then, Hyper. It's okay.
If I did, I lost it.
No worries. So, okay. What do we want to talk about first? Beyond Light or Seasonal Hunt? I guess. Yeah, you pick.
Let's. I was gonna say let's go into Beyond Light. Let's start with that.
Sounds good. So short question. What'd you think?
I love that we have hit we've hit a turning point. It feels like we've gotten to the halfway point in the Destiny story as a whole, and things are finally coming together.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are finally getting more answers than questions at this point, because that's another thing that the Destiny lore really has done, where every time it answers a question, there's another 12 questions that pop up because of it, or through the course of that, which is a lot of fun for online discussion and community building, but it can be really frustrating as well. So where we're at now in the story as a whole, we finally have made contact with the darkness. We are beginning to see it take a physical form, and at the same time, we're getting to see more of the alien races fleshed out. And I think that's something that's really worth discussing. In particular, I went into Reese Reborn, that whole area, and you could just look out over the vast expanse and see Elixir architecture for the first time. I mean, we kind of saw their build style, right? We kind of saw their build style with their ships, their catches, the style of their pikes, and the style of some of their strongholds. But now we actually got to see a full-blown Elixir city, as it would have existed back on their homeworld. I believe their homeworld is Reese, thus we have the Reese Reborn, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
that
believe so as well.
Yeah, that we're beginning to explore a little bit more, seeing the races more as civilizations rather than just, oh, like right now I'm watching your Twitch stream and you're blasting some hive. It's more than just the necrotic alien race. It's more than the insectoid alien race. It's more than the space turtle war beast alien race. Like we're beginning to flesh out their societies as well. So I'm really excited to see how that grows.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, go for it, TowerMom.
One of my favorite things, I have a lot of interests and stuff like that, and one of the things that I absolutely love learning about is ancient cultures and additional cultures and things like that. And so that's one of the reasons why the lore is one of my favorite things about this, because I love learning about the Hive, the Elixni, the Cabal. Even if, we don't like them, I still like learning about them. My point being, though, is one of the things that I really fell in love with in the Reese Reborn area is the fact that the architecture isn't just, it's not that they just built this stuff. They built it on top of Eventide.
Okay.
So it's almost like looking at, if you think from an archaeology or an anthropology standpoint, you know how you see in different places like Italy, like in Greece, like in Turkey, like in
like
Central
strata
America
of civilizations.
You see this
Yep,
exactly. I loved that.
That's basically what you did as an ancient civilization. You come through and you're like, mine now, and you just kind of build your city on top of the on top of the ruins and the ashes of those that you just conquered, both cynically and quite literally.
Yeah,
that's what you did. And as far as the universe and Destiny itself, this is all post-apocalyptic. Essentially, it's basically all post-apocalyptic. So yeah, there's a city there. Yeah, there's a little bit of infrastructure, but it's all abandoned, right? Like humanity was not on Europa at the time that the Elixni kind of landed there. It was pretty much abandoned. So, okay, we got this space to start rebuilding. We got this space to do stuff. Well, no one's arguing. So I guess this is what we'll do.
Yeah, I mean. I'm flying through the EDZ right now, and the thing is that you can, in a video game, it's very easy to say, well, this is why the world is empty. The world is empty because there's an apocalypse, right? And it's a great way to kind of explain why you don't have these massive, intricate, sprawling cities in the detail setup of your game. But I've always felt that Destiny had a lot more life in it than some of the locations we're giving it credit for, and it's just like focusing on that on the Reese Reborn and Eventide. I mean, it's nice to see that these look like real places that some people could live. They're not just barracks. They're not just like, I mean, there's a lot of apartment buildings and stuff in Destiny, but they don't. There's no front door. Like there doesn't even look like it doesn't really look like a place. It's just kind of set dressing.
Right. It's more ruins that you run through rather than the abandoned remnants of a society. It's definitely more just kind of ruins. We're just throw some buildings here, but this line of row houses, this is just going to be the right hand boundary for this for this pathway for the strike.
And I don't know I don't know how far into this that Destiny will go, because it is limited, and also people have different priorities, right? I mean, we're deeply invested in the story and the lore, but that doesn't mean everybody else wants resources devoted to I don't know, building more locations and stuff. But I want to see more. I want to see like the Fallen being people. I want to see them just existing, hanging out, doing stuff, not necessarily being a vendor. I want to see more of humanity. I mean, every time
definitely.
I play Destiny, I stand up there where Zavala is, and I look at the city, and I go, wonder if we'll ever get there someday. you know. And it's fine. It's fine if we don't,
Right?
because like maybe we're supposed to be out there on the edge, but the the fallen city is interesting, and I'm really glad, as like you said, Hyper, to see that fleshed out more because
Mhm.
yeah, like it's fine. These are, you know, to start off like, okay, this is the bug race, this is the turtle race, this is the shadow race, and that's who we fight. But now that we've, you know, literally getting to know them over 6 years, there's opportunity to flesh them out, and I think they've done a really good
Yeah.
job. Like, you know, whether you're a veteran, like a lore veteran, or completely new, lots of detail in Beyond Light about the Fallen, about the Elixir. You learn, you specifically learn about the Whirlwind. First time it was ever, maybe second, and maybe Varric
Oh
mentioned
my
Destiny
gosh,
1, but
yes.
they go through a whole little cinematic being like, this is what the Whirlwind was. This is why the Fallen are the way that they are. And this is what they want. And they
Mhm.
build sympathy for them. And
Mhm.
you know, I mean, I would have loved to have seen some of the Fallen that we rescued, but the fact that we rescued Fallen is such a turning point for the story of the game. Like Guardians doing certain Empire hunts specifically rescue Fallen and have them sent away to safety. And that, I mean, I remember 6 years ago thinking, man, do these guys ever get tired of Guardians just running through and messing up their day? Like, you know, it's good to see them as a culture, and I think that's going to make things really interesting. I mean, um, so many possibilities for. I remember when the Reef in Destiny 1 opened up, and you're like, oh, you know, you got to meet the Awoken in the beginning of Destiny 1, but you never really.
A bunch of arrogant jerks.
Yeah, but like other than
Aldrin.
other than a couple of
Just
cutscenes.
a whole other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get back
it
to
was great.
we'll get back to Aldrin, but yeah, other than a couple of
Oh, we'll talk
cutscenes,
about
you never got to see them, and then you actually
Yeah.
got to go to the Reef and see their architecture, hear their people, and yeah, it's just been great.
Who was
It
their
was
Cryptarch?
interesting.
Who was the Cryptarch? Do we remember who the Cryptarch was?
Eves or
That
Ives.
was Master Ives, and he was
Oh.
actually voiced by the same guy who does the voice of Devrin, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the same guy.
and maybe because of that,
Yeah,
sadly,
sure.
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, they all were, and it was interesting too.
Yeah.
If you go into a bit of lore, apparently the Reef believed that frames needed to be reset every now and again, so they didn't develop too much consciousness, whereas Earth didn't have that same belief. So every time I wander around the Reef, I was like, oh man, this frame isn't gonna recognize me when I come back.
Aww.
Pretty brutal stuff, but
that's so sad.
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely I've been on this train for a long time regarding the Fallen. I mean, our friend Trams here in the chat, and maybe eventually in the lore panel tonight. He and I and one other from the Guardians of Lore, we made a complete history of the Fallen video, and we went into that. I wanted to make.
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, if you Chad, I'll put up the link to my channel. You can check it out. Scroll back a little bit. Oh, looks like we've got some bots jumping in. Let's get rid of one of those. I'll let one of my mods get rid
Can
of
I
those.
interject with something real quickly
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Because we were talking about the culture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And something that I really found interesting, there was a dialogue piece from Varix during one of the quests where he talks about the Elixir don't have to live or deal with the ruins of their own civilization. Like we do.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that?
Wait,
It-
who doesn't have to live with the ruins of their civilization?
The Elixir do not have to basically. It was I can't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of, "We do not have to live with the ruins of our past."
It was
Like
one of the
you do.
campaign missions, and it was when we're entering the Clovis Bray facility. I remember this very distinctly. We were entering one of the facilities.
I got
yeah, it was
shivers.
Yeah, it was to that effect where as we are exploring these new places, or like new to us anyway, we are going through instances of our past. This is what we used to be before
Yeah.
our collapse, and at least the Elixni don't have to be face to face with their, I don't want to say failure of an existence, because I mean, it's really hard to withstand the whirlwind. It's really hard to take that on. It's
Yeah, but they're
really
not.
really
They're
hard.
not reminded of it with
Constantly
physical.
reminded of
Yeah, that's an interesting take
Right.
Yeah,
because
and we are in a way.
yeah, that's it. That's an interesting take because normally, and by that I mean just by I think the majority of the time, the exact opposite mentalities are presented in Destiny. The golden age of humanity is seen as it's called the golden age, and the technology we
Mhm.
get is somehow more powerful. Everything was great, and with the Elixni, yeah, they're called the fallen now because they have fallen and their race is to ruin. So it's interesting that
There's dialogue about that too.
Yeah.
There is.
Which I love.
and that's what I
Eric says, like, that's an insult to us, which it
Yeah.
kind of is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
pretty much is.
I mean, to be
Yeah,
fair,
I'm actually taking to calling them
yeah, calling them Elixni.
or separating them.
Yeah,
Well, I've taken to separating them. So Aramis and her group are still fallen to me, but Varix and I wanted to mention Mithrax as well earlier. Like you said, you've been invested in trying to find out the culture of the Elixni. Ever since I met Mithrax down on Titan, I've been like, ooh, a good fallen. Yes, this needs to be expanded on. We gotta save him. We gotta see what he does, you know? So I'm really excited that they brought their, well, almost by proxy, but they've brought that idea back in with this season and with Beyond Light. I am excited to see where they take that.
yeah. I've been on
House of
Team
Light.
Mithrax for a long time. I mean, with
Woohoo, Team Mithrax!
yeah. So yeah.
Also, like,
Oh, go ahead.
also, we have a question in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that. Six is asking about other places we can visit, right? Let's see. Want to see more places like the farm on the Earth and across the galaxy. Do you think we ever will? I will add to that question. Do you think we ever will? And do you think we'll ever see the free capitals? So if
I think
Do what now?
so, there was
This is something I didn't know about.
yeah,
Ooh,
there
please
there
do
was
expand.
there was a piece, there was a web lore. So chat, if you haven't seen them, sometimes Bungie will tweet out and put on their website what we call web lore. You can also see it on the Ishtar Collective website. But basically, it's often usually it's a seasonal primer. It'll be like,
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so,
that's a very good way to put it.
yeah, narrative preview of the season, something coming up, and in one of them, they did a couple of stories from the perspective of people in the city, and it was a bunch of people around a bar essentially, or something like this, and they were talking about the idea of the free capitals, basically these villages, these towns, something that were out of the jurisdiction of the last city. And some people are like, they're a myth, whatever. It's like, no, I've seen it, I swear. And other people saying, well, why would you want to go there? I mean, we're safe here in the city. And other people questioning that idea, considering how much we've, undergone the last few years. So,
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember this one.
yeah,
Yes.
so free capitals
Yes.
is
Yeah,
the...
I remember it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
free capitals is the rumor, possibly not rumor, of people living out somewhere else. And I mean, it doesn't have to be free capitals in terms of your answer, but when Six asked that, that's what I was reminded of, was other places where humanity might be squirreled away, living. Because we haven't really seen anything like that ever since Destiny. Ever since Destiny started, it's no, we're all going to the last city. That's the whole thing.
Right. But you would expect there to be outposts and villages. I mean, how is anyone in Asia or Africa going to be able to get to the frigging Andes where the city is located, you know?
Well,
How are they going to be able to do that?
Yeah. Do we know the general geographic region of where Lady Efrity is?
The last I personally...
Since she left?
Well,
No clue.
the last I thought I saw of her referenced was the Cosmo shell, where the Cosmo, I think it's called Cosmo shell. It's got like a star-like pattern, and it talks about her like, I don't know, it's unclear when it is, but I think it's supposed to be around the time of the Red War, and she, does her thing of like taking out, 50 Cabal with 30 shots kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
And then she just kind of
She
puts
was
up her hood
still
and
on Earth then.
yeah, and she
goes back, right?
yeah. So I'm kind of guessing that's the last I remember
But
hearing
didn't
of her.
I thought at the end of that lore, it was, maybe it wasn't explicitly stated, but I don't know. When I read that lore, I assumed that when she felt like she was done with her. Yeah, there it is. I see it there, Kaz, on the screen. I almost felt like it says, "I'm coming home."
Mm-hmm.
I thought that means that she would be heading back out to her outpost out in the Oort cloud.
Yeah, well,
At the end of the
That's what I was
galaxy.
thinking.
yeah,
Or
That's what I
at the
was
end of the system, excuse me.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I forgot about that specifically. So, chat, in Destiny 1, when you first meet Lady Aphrodite, she's an Iron Lord who kind of disappeared. She came back during the Rise of Iron campaign, and she just kept saying things like, I found a group of people out in the Outer Rim who've learned to use the light not as a weapon, and they're a bunch of pacifists. And that's all she would say, frustratingly enough, about that. But I guess that Cosmo card is stating that, yeah, she came back to help with the city, and then she went back home, wherever that is. That's a good point. I mean, maybe that's, I had always thought maybe they weren't even like humanity out there. I thought maybe they were, I don't know, Jovian or the Nine or something.
Aren't Jovians a myth though as well?
Well, I don't know if any, like, that's the thing with Destiny, is like so many things are like what is confirmed and what isn't, right? I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. I mean, before Warmind was released, everyone just assumed that Rasputin was located on Earth.
yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
the location.
Because that's all we had seen of him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Turns out it's we were talking to a fragment of Rasputin, and he's really centrally located on Mars, but there's other locations of other Warmind vaults that are scattered throughout the solar system.
Yeah.
So, like, that wasn't,
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost retcon, not really
Mm-hmm.
close, but kind of close. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
want to.
not close.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I see where you're going with that. Like, there's possibility that there's, that there's something we think we know, and there might be a, like an outpost that we didn't know of. I wanna make a point on that, on the topic of retcon. So, in my personal opinion, I think that because Destiny's story and lore is like a quilt that we're all working on, I feel like some people guess the pattern a little too quickly, and I feel that I feel that retcon, or like, the lore may lean heavily one way, but then it's established another way. That is going to happen, and I think that is good that happens, because the writers, they need room. They need to leave room, ambiguity into the story, and they need to find room to put new stories in. And I feel like when you combine that need with how jumping to conclusions the community can be sometimes, you create cases where that wasn't, certain things weren't actually retconned. They just weren't established, and everybody said 100%, yeah, that's true. And you're like, no. Oh, sounds like Trams might be joining us. Trams, you here?
Hello.
Hey, there we go. Before you jump into to talking on that, chat, let's hear a little bit. Trams, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit here for everybody?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Yeah, I am Trans87. Most people know me already, but I create what I like to call cinematic Destiny lore videos. So I basically explore some of the things that are unexplored, try and connect dots. I mostly ask a lot of questions, so that I'm careful not to end up in uncharted territory, but it usually works pretty well.
And
Start some interesting conversations.
where can we find you when you're not here?
You can actually find, yeah, you can find me on my new channel, which is youtube.com/Psalm Lab. So yeah, for Psalm Lab. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. All right, I just wanted to make sure we were all caught up. So yeah, Trams, did you have something to say on the idea of, possible retcon or story expansion?
Yeah, retcon stuff is really interesting. It's funny actually that that was brought up because I was reading some stuff about the Exo Stranger and also the war mines. I mean, in fact, the best example is probably the war mines. If you look in the Destinypedia, Wikipedia, which is run by Bungie, Charlemagne was actually supposed to be, well, we still don't know whether or not Charlemagne was an individual war mind, but for some reason Bungie changed that so that she was a sub-mind.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, sub-mind of Rasputin, and so
Yes, I remember that.
she was, but originally, her and the other woman, other sub-mind, Volupsa or Volupsa, you don't actually hear that one mentioned at all in the wiki. You have to search for that elsewhere. But yeah, they were originally going to be actual war mines, but then they changed it. I have no idea why. I don't know if that's because there are so many planets, there are other war mines, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just jump in again. I do feel that the war mine question in particular, okay, good, that is working. I do feel that the war mine case in particular is a little bit of a hard reset or maybe retcon. I feel like the language that was used, I feel like the language that was used suggested that there were multiple war mines. And then in Destiny 2, we saw a lot of flattening of the lore. I think trying to, just reduce the amount of loose ends and maybe to make it simpler for the casual player. And so they said, no, it's just one war mine and a bunch of sub mines. I do feel that that if you go back and you read old lore, it's very heavily suggestive that there are multiple ones. They use war mines plural, but in the end, I don't really mind because it's not like we knew them, and it's not like they were, they weren't really. Yeah, they weren't really established.
I got two thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got two thoughts on this. First, when Destiny 2 was getting ready to get launched, it actually was discussed through the Bungie communication channels that a lot or much of the Destiny 1 lore will be considered hearsay and stories and legend, not actual truth.
Well,
I'm saying that a little bit more harshly. Yeah. So they actually gave themselves the freedom to say, like, well, these are just kind of campfire stories. Some of these are more just kind of legends and myth of people talking about the world and trying to piece things together. The second part I want to bring up is I am totally fine with that because in the end, the professional writers are professional writers, and I am not a professional writer for great reasons, and that is come up with way better stories than I have ever attempted to predict. And that's just a cold hard fact. I tried to do prediction blog posts over the years and videos over the years, and I am always so flat out wrong, but in the best possible way, because what actually does come through from the professional writers is a story that is much more interesting, much more fleshed out, and allows for greater growth at the same time. So, like, some of it is.
I think more
kind of campfire story.
I was gonna say more context to add to that quote. They actually got a little bit of what's the right word? Backlash from the community on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they were attempting to say is that is what we were saying is that even the lore itself is a patchwork. I mean, people need to remember it's very rare to ever have an accurate, reliable narrator in the lore. It's very rare for anything to come up and say this is a fact, and it is corroborated by these sources, and I am I am speaking the truth.
Right.
Like normally, what'll happen is, I mean, I don't know. Zavala could come out and say I
It'll
used to be
different point of view.
yeah. Zavala could
like
come out and
that.
say I used to be a Dredgen. And then you'll find out, you'll be like, what? And then videos will come out, everybody will go nuts over it. And then he says, no, I lied to you so that I could find out if you were still loyal to the Dredgens. Or, I did a lot of Gambit or whatever. Like, it's silly example, but honestly,
but totally plausible.
yeah, and it's
at the same
and
time.
it's just something that the community, most of the lore community has gotten better with, but I feel like people who are new to the lore or maybe new to like analyzing it, or maybe just haven't spent a lot of time with like literature review, they just kind of forget that step, and they're like, no, it's been confirmed. It's like, it's been confirmed by this person who is not reliable. Or
I will admit to that.
We all do. I mean,
I will admit to that. I thought that it was canon that Zavala was married, and then I found out that it was a Reddit post that may or may not have been written by a Bungie writer, but was very well written.
Yeah, I remember that post, and I was like looking for it, going, where is this?
Where is it?
Yeah. I mean,
that's hilarious, because considering the fact that we'd never heard of anybody in the entire universe in any kind of relationship, and then suddenly, oh, Zavala's married, right? Okay.
yeah. Well, and the thing is too is that the thing is too is that there's only so many times you can say, as far as we know, to the best of our knowledge, and in my opinion, or whatever.
Yes.
Like, and I find what happens is that either some people forget to do that step, or they don't make it clear exactly how much of what they're saying is that.
Exactly.
And it's, it is, we're all human, but at the end of the day, it's all about interpretation. There's very few things in the game that are 100%, and I don't think that they will ever be, because it allows room. It allows room for the writers to come in and add more and expand on it. And you see that all the time. I mean, I don't know. Hey, Superman, your parents were, great scientists or whatever and had no problems with anybody. Oh, no, actually, they had a whole council of people who, whatever. And then you can create a whole backstory about all the challenge, the drama on Krypton or whatever. And it still fits. You just have to expand the story palette a little bit.
So one thing I wanted to bounce off of what you were just saying, Kaz, and this is probably going to help a lot with retcon stuff. A lot of the decisions that Bungie made in the last 3 years were very much in line with acquisitional conversations. And what I mean by acquisitional is that obviously Bungie were acquired by Activision, and so Activision, usually when any company buys a smaller publisher, is that they or developer, sorry, not publisher, they want a 3-year run of original content, nothing that's already been done that belongs to a different company. So I would assume, maybe not everything, but a few things would have been pushed to the fact that, okay, we want a fresh story, we don't really want it to connect to this old IP, so what can you give us? So Bungie obviously have to juggle things around to loosely connect it, but then it's not really part of the
wait.
franchise anymore.
Are you mentioning? Are you trying to bring in that whole lore piece about the possibility of what is it? Freaking Master Chief having been possibly being risen as a guardian and then denying the light? Is that why you're mentioning that? I'm just curious.
No, I'm mentioning that because before that, obviously the retcon stuff didn't become an issue until Destiny 2 was created. Because when you look at it, there's no real reason for it to be retconned. So you have to ask yourself, why all of a sudden were there so many, changing the whole Warmind thing was a pretty major change, considering how much in D1 Rasputin had been featured, and we'd learned that the Warmind network was quite a big network, and obviously Rasputin was the only Warmind we knew of that survived, but we didn't know if there were any more.
So,
But then it went to, oh, there's only
so,
Rasputin. There might be more, but we're not really talking about that.
so
Okay,
you're
good
assuming that
point.
like maybe that was kind of like content owned by Activision, so when they split, they had to revamp a few things.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm saying obviously
Mm.
Bungie were with Xbox before, and then they split from Xbox. Activision came along.
Mhm.
And Activision essentially said, "We don't want anything connecting to where you were before. So give us something along the same lines, but change a few things." And that's essentially that's what Bungie did.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably never really know, and even, I mean, unless they mapped it out in some really extensive contract, we'll probably never really know what the split is. But I'm sure that had something to do with it. I mean, there's a change in tone, mechanics, story, all kinds of stuff between Destiny 1 and 2, and even between Destiny 2 and Forsaken and Shadowkeep and so on. So I mean, you see this too, where these writers will come in and they'll write this like amazing content, and then it's like, okay, see you later, guys. We're going to work on other games, and then we'll be back for the next DLC. And it's like, that is an interesting business plan to have, to have these kind of head writers who kind of write the big stuff, and then to have these other ones come in and write like seasons or whatever. I have to say that
Yeah, it's like contracted writers.
yeah, and they've managed to keep things together much better than I would expect, considering, you ever try to do somebody else's work?
No doubt.
It's like,
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Sadly, yes. Sir.
yeah. So you know what it's like then, like to try and, put your own spin on it, but still fit into to what's there, and maybe improve on it if you feel that you need to. So yeah, it's interesting to see that kind of business side of it as well, as to how that influences it. And it's as you start getting into it more, that's you start pulling all of this stuff together, right? You play the game and you start reading some lore, cool, and you start getting some deeper context as to what's going on. And then if you've done any kind of literary analysis, you start going, oh, that's why that's like that. Like I mean, I haven't done any really since high school, but what I do remember has helped me appreciate, like, oh, okay, of course, the story's going to be set up in that way, that, it's more poetic, or it draws on these references. And we know, I mean, the amount of references they use everywhere in Destiny. And then, yeah, the business side of things
Oh my gosh,
is,
yes.
yeah, the business side of things is another to consider. And I'll just, my last little point on that, I was really happy during Season of Opulence, when they gave the little trailer, and about just before Season of Opulence, they had their little trailer telling you about the season coming up, and it was the first time that they were, they flashed on the screen, the word more, and then they rotated maps, guns, loot, and lore, and that was the first time I saw them say, like, to advertise clearly, there's more lore coming, and I was like, oh. And I feel like ever since, definitely Forsaken, they've really put that forward more. The lore has always been good, and the lore's always been really expansive and consistent. I feel like, in terms of consistent with the game world, it's not out of place. But I feel like as a company and as a game, they've really said, okay, look, people actually care about this a lot, so we need to, like, really not only advertise it, but we need to put it into the game to actually, put it in the player's view instead of hidden away in arcane books or whatever. And they still do that. And I think that the mystery of Destiny is a vital component to the game. I would never, as much as I've wanted the story and lore gap to shrink, I don't want it to completely disappear, because I feel like that is a vital thing in the game. Just like people are chasing the perfect roll on something, or the triumph of doing whatever achievement, I feel like putting pieces together, even just to warn you about what's coming, and then they can say, yep, you were right, or nope, you were really wrong. I feel like that's kind of a vital piece. There are players who play this game to shoot stuff, and there are players who play this game to examine story, or both. And yeah, it's nice. I think it's been really good to see that balance develop, especially Forsaken onward.
I think Bungie does a really good job of recognizing that there are players who play for, additional story beats. And especially since I've come in myself, being a new light, that was one of the things that brought me in, is not just the main stories, but the fleshed out deeper lore that you can discover. I've been just loving it,
The rabbit hole is deep. Like
It is.
Very deep.
So I think now's a good time. We got one question in the chat. We'll circle back to you, Six. Don't worry. We got a lot of random questions that were submitted by the wider community through the week. So I think we can take a few minutes for each of them, kind of pass some thoughts around, and if there's any that we want to circle back to later, it's good conversation fuel. Let's see. We'll skip past my fiance's troll question. Why are Zavala's shoulders so big?
Because yes is why,
Yeah.
Juliet.
Yeah, exactly.
There actually is a little bit of a lore piece. I think it was in one of the web lores where turns out Zavala is actually a pretty lean dude. It's just that his armor is just massive that he wears.
Yes, I remember reading that too.
Yeah,
I was like,
so-
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's I think it was I think
Was it a web lore or was it
I think
an
no,
actual entry?
I think it's an actual entry, and I think it's Varix. Varix gets an audience with Zavala,
That's right.
and he's like,
Yes, yes.
he's not
Yes.
as big as you think. It's just he carries himself well, and he, the armor is specifically meant to give that impression. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Varix was trying to broker some sort of deal with
Right.
the Vanguard.
So,
and,
yes,
he
I
came to
did
Zavala's
see.
office. I remember that.
Yeah, so I did see the troll question, and I laughed because I'm like, there's kind of an answer to that actually.
Yeah.
Well, what else we got?
Let's
That's a
see.
great question, Julie.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of go through some of the shorter ones, and then we can come back to some of the longer ones, I think. After doing the Hawk Moon quest, do you think the Traveler's Shard and pieces of it will become more relevant in the future? I will start. The Traveler's Shard is really interesting because it's, in my mind, it's on the edge of being something like a metachlorian. And what I mean by that is the Traveler is this big, unique force, and yet somehow you can basically put it in a bottle. If you're Callus, you can chop a piece off and put it in the tribute hall. If you're if you're Aldrin, you can kind of grab a piece and open the watchtower. So I think the Traveler's Shard is something we have to be, like, story-wise, you have to be careful putting it in the game, because you in my mind, it's interesting and weird to have a physical representation of this kind of, it's like God in a material object. I think it's interesting. I think we could see more of it. But now that the Traveler's kind of reformed, actually, that's a good point. The Traveler fixed itself, and yet it's not like it incorporated all of itself back together. There's still pieces of the Shard, not only in the EDZ, but in the forest. So what do you,
it's interesting, that one, actually. Because I did some digging on that a while ago, and so Tyra Khan, who is on, I think she's still on the farm right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know if they've moved her, but when you first start playing Destiny 2 pre New Light, that's super confusing. But she actually says that the shard is because it's been away from the Traveler for so long, it's actually turned dark, and so anything it touches, it turns dark. So the woods that surround the largest piece of the shard of the Traveler has actually been turned dark. Now, we don't know to what degree, but all we know is that anything it touches turns dark. So the water can't be drank there. Pretty much everything is bad. So they don't. It's like a red tape zone. Nobody goes there apart from us. But we still.
I have a
really
theory
been
on that
shown,
line. Actually, sorry.
much of the forest. Well, no, it's okay. That was pretty much it. But yeah, the shard is dark, and it is. I thought literally gave us an example of what stasis would be, or just the idea of light and dark coexisting within the same entity.
Well, let's circle back on that. TowerMom, what were you saying?
I kind of have a theory along that line. Tram's mentioning, oh my gosh, I can't, Tyra, stating that the largest piece is, starting to turn dark. And it circles back to the whole idea of the darkness, that those of us, who regained our light or gained light from the Traveler's dark piece, those of us who, the main young wolf character may have already been turning dark since then because of that piece that Tyra mentions, that this is more of a culmination of that type of idea of the darkness has been taking hold all the way since that point where we individually went to the shard and got our traveler, or got our light from the dark part of the traveler, if you will. But to the original question, short answer, I do believe so, that the shard will come back more into play. But then again, you also think back to the Red War and the fact that it was a big part of those first few missions that that we had to go see the piece of the Traveler. So there's already been a lot of story beats about that, and that it may not be, it may or may not come back, as a bigger piece. But I do think that the shard or pieces of it have a part to play, especially given the Hawkmoon quest, like was mentioned in the question. I think that's a really great question. So whoever brought that up, big ups on them.
Hyper, you have any thoughts on that?
I have not completed the Hawkmoon quest.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
No worries.
Full-time job, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
oh yeah.
And also Cyberpunk was just released, so
nice. Yeah. So
break from that there once in a while. But as far as the shard playing a bigger role, I would not be surprised if it did form a bigger role, because it was this bizarre outlier as far as light power was concerned, in that we were able to gain new light powers even though the Traveler itself was completely shielded by the Red Legion. So to bring it back just for a single exotic quest, that seems a little too unique. And I have not read the lore from Tyra Karn saying that the shard has been corrupted or has lost touch with the Traveler, so everything around it is dark. I have not read that lore entry. If someone could send me a link, that'd be awesome.
Think that was actually dialogue.
Yeah, it's dialogue.
It was quest dialogue.
Yeah, you probably could. You could probably find it on Ishtar. But basically, when you first meet Tyra, she tells you about how she kind of lost her connection to the light. She lost her memory a little bit, and she's recovering. And then she and Hawthorne try to warn you about going there. Hawthorne's like, yeah, it's a place nobody wants to go. Like, it's death. That's why it's called the Dead Zone.
Well, yeah,
plus it's also called the Dark Forest. That area around the shard.
And you go kind of into a dark alternate reality when you go through, and you fight a lot of Taken there. So yeah, I would not be surprised in the least if it plays a larger role or comes back to be a major plot point for future quests and missions and whatnot.
Yeah, we're definitely going to return to that one probably in the course of this conversation, let alone the game. Let's fly through a couple. Will Aramis return or not? My answer:
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
They left her.
she's just in stasis.
Exactly. She's not. She's mentioned in a couple of places in the game as not even being dead. So perfect way to bring her back.
Critis.
She's decently established. Plus, when it comes to fantasy and fiction, if you don't see the dead body, it's not dead. Right? Like,
if you
No
don't
doubt.
witness the body being charred
yeah.
and turned to ash,
Yeah, exactly.
there's
I
still
mean,
a
Or
way.
shattered.
if
in the
Anna
case of
Bray can
Aramis.
fake her death, then Aramis can come back from her being frozen.
Yeah, and
If Anna
also
Bray can save Rasputin and possibly put him
And
in
there
somebody,
Yeah.
then Aramis can come back.
and there was a bit of a Freudian slip made by Varix during the is it Kedris is the dark priestess? When
Critis,
Kedris
yeah.
Critis, okay. When Critis was mentioning that there is a way that would be able to resurrect Aramis or bring Aramis back in some way using a dark ritual, Varix got very excited about the prospect of a returning Aramis Kel. I mean, Aramis. I'm like, ooh, there is a little
Yes.
nugget.
Yeah.
That was a little
There
nugget
are
that was
times
dropped.
where he calls her Aramis Kel instead of just Aramis, even when you're doing like public events
Mhm.
He
or
corrects
you're
himself,
doing
doesn't
Yeah, he does correct
was
himself,
it
but he
bounties?
still makes
Yeah.
the error. Yeah.
The Freudian
Yeah.
slip, because that's what he's thinking. He's still viewing her in a leadership authoritative state or capacity. So yeah, she's coming back.
Yeah.
Even though he's supposed to be aligned with Mithrax Kel.
Well,
no, he is.
Yeah,
No, Varix is the most loyal to the Elixni. Whoever he
Yes.
feels is the best leader.
yeah.
Oh
and
yeah,
that
good
is-
point.
Yeah, if you play
And that is why his book is called The Most Loyal, and that's why he's known as the most loyal. He is most loyal to the Elixni and whoever will advance them the most.
Yeah, I was actually talking about this. This is a bit random, but if you play older versions of Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game, there is an alignment known as true neutral. And in true neutral, you kind of grasp on to the alignment of the people around you. Whoever's got the strongest personality in your group, you decide to kind of side with their view on things. And
Okay.
I feel like Varix is kind of like that, but it's because he's just trying to do what he can to help his people survive. So whoever has those, it's like a person who's voting, and it's like, well, this year this leader is they're doing what I think is best for my community, my people. Now it's this group. Now it's he's not particularly loyal, as you say, to anyone. He's loyal to the set of ideals and whoever can try to bring those into effect.
I would
Also,
like my theory on the Vex then, Kaz, because I bring that into. I bring D&D alignments into my theory on the Vex. Chaotic neutral. I believe
Oh,
they're
yeah, they are.
chaotic neutral.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that follows from what I think as well. Yeah.
yeah, so, some of the lore even backs that up, that they are the equalizer for the light and the dark.
Yeah, I see them as cosmic janitors. That's how I see them.
And curious.
They're like cosmic janitors or umpires. Yeah, the lore that Tram's talking about, at least some of it, is in the Book of Unveiling. They reference the kind of the ones who are tending the garden and keeping the game like moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
And in Bray's journal.
True. Yeah.
Where he describes them as like cosmic memes almost.
Yeah.
And that they're curious rather than like 100% aligned evil.
Right.
They're the simulations are out of curiosity, not out of an evil intent, if you will.
Mm.
Yeah, because they don't process anything that is. They see everything that isn't in their order out of order, so they just convert everything so it looks the same.
Yeah, if you don't fit the pattern, and that's what happened during the Vault of Glass raid, where You didn't necessarily die. You didn't lose your life. It's that in some instances you were quote redacted. If you, I think it was, yeah, this is part of the Vault of Glass raid with the Gorgons
Mm-hmm.
that you had to kind of sneak around. If you got caught by these special harpies, they had to kind of sneak around to get through this one kind of maze area of the raid. You were redacted, which lore-wise means you're not dead. You were just removed from existence because you did not fit the pattern that the Vex are trying to
Didn't
establish.
that happen to one of the original fire team that went into the Vault of Glass? I can't remember if it was
Happened to
Praedyth
3 of them.
or
Yeah.
Happened to
Yeah.
3 of
yeah,
them,
they got.
actually.
But there was
They're-
one specific side quest that we went to go find the remains.
I think it was
You
D1.
found-
Praedyth.
You found the remains of Praedyth. There was also
Yeah.
Pahanin and Kabir.
Kabir,
And I
yeah.
believe Kabir was the only one.
Well,
to make
Kabir
it out
turned
alive.
into a Vex.
Yeah, he.
Kabir turned into a Vex. He drank the milk.
Yeah, he.
Was that Kabir or Pahanin
It-
that drank the milk?
Well, it was Kabir. He.
I think it was
Okay.
Kabir.
He. I
But
think.
Praedyth we went after.
I'm pretty sure Pahanin actually escaped, and then kind of. I can't remember exactly the fate, but I think super good advice is tied to Pahanin feeling bad that they had like no friends, and
Okay.
and they kind of I can't remember if they went insane or otherwise, but yeah, essentially Kabir drank some of the Vex radiolaria, and he turned his ghost into a shield, which if you did
Right.
the Vault of Glass,
Mhm.
you could use that. That was the mechanic, that was the relic. That brings up another question from earlier. Let me read it exactly. Okay, so the question, I think, is making an assumption. We'll see if that holds out. It says, "What do you think will tie Vault of Glass to next season?" So whether or not it's coming back next season, what do you think will be the lore tie?
It's got to be something about the Exos and the Vex.
Mhm.
Because we learned
Okay.
in Clovis Bray's journal that, when he went to oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the system, but
Mhm.
when he went there, he brought Vex back to basically clarify the Vex milk and use that as the alkahest, as he calls it,
Mhm.
for the Exos to be able to allow the human mind to live within that frame, with all the scatteredness that comes with a human mind, all that that mental noise
Right.
that we have naturally. But that was the only way for him to be able to stabilize a human mind in a Vex frame, and even then it's not 100% because we still have DER. So I think
Right.
possibly there may be more lore, more story with regards to us trying to find out why and how with the whole Vex milk issue, and how that ties into the Exos, because they haven't touched on that yet.
Hmm.
So far it's all just been Varix and Aramis, and yes, we've seen them in the background. We've seen the Vex milk flowing through the pipes in the background. But that was, in my opinion, that was a big part of Clovis Berry's journal, and bringing that in. So I think that should definitely be brought into the main story mission. I'm hoping they do that soon.
Yeah, that's a really interesting theory, because I had a theory where I recently did a little video on what clarity control is. I kind of went back a little bit, but just the fact that the Exos are made of the Vex and then obviously the Darkness. My theory was just that maybe the Darkness would try to use the Vex creation, exoscience, to make their own Darkness army, just because we've got so many of those pyramid drones flying around much of the Bray exoscience facility. But yeah, apart from that, I'd probably say Volantis may be a key thing. into Vault of Glass. Maybe it's like a Vault of Glass. I don't know, HQ or something like that for the Vex.
Yeah, I mean,
Like a rehash like they did with the New Light experience in the Strike.
maybe. Yeah, I mean,
Poor Hyper hasn't done that yet. Go do the thing, Hyper.
Well, I did the I can't remember what the name of the strike is now. It's the
yeah,
it's the much watered down Omnigul strike,
Yeah.
if I may be so snooty.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
No screamies.
Yeah, I mean, I've done the Omnigul strike. The
Oh yeah,
revamp
I
of
mean,
it.
to be fair, the
So-
Omnigul Strike was with the right modifiers on. It was like a Nightfall, and when it was the
Oh, yeah.
Nightfall, it was like a raid, like hiding in the corner.
only- Yeah, I mean, you could do it though. You could do it. The only, well, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. So, but
Yeah.
I completely forgot where we were.
Well, we're
Go
talking
ahead,
about
Kaz.
we're talking about the Vault of Glass. I mean, there's a lot here. There's a lot of different possibilities. I mean, I find the idea of the Vex coming through and then using exoscience to their advantage kind of hilarious, because it's like Clovis borrowed a lot of ideas from the Vex to make exos, and how it would be a delicious twist of cruelty if the Vex turned around and went, oh, okay, cool, now we're even better because we used your feeble technology or whatever.
Borrowed
Well-
it back.
Yeah, and that's something that the Vex would absolutely do.
Oh yeah,
They-
they absorb,
because
right?
they just absorb, right? Jinx, they absorb everything that they encounter, and they feed that information back into their own simulations
The-
for better models.
There's another possibility about the Vault of Glass, but if they do this, they need to put some more of it in the game rather than in the lore. During the season of Undying, which was the season that came with Shadowkeep, doing bounties for Ikora, remember when we could do that,
Mhm.
unlocked the Aspect
Still salty.
lore book. And in the Aspect lore book, you learn more about the Ishtar Collective. Not the website, but the group of scientists in Destiny. So, chat, to catch you up, in Destiny 1, when we went to Venus, we learned about the Ishtar Collective. They were scientists on Venus studying the Vex. And something terrible happened to a bunch of them, where they got essentially, what's the right word? They got simulated. They
Mhm.
basically they turned around and went, wait, if the Vex are able to create perfect simulations, are we in a simulation? And the answer was,
Yeah, they were studying.
That ties
Vex,
back
right,
to the
on table.
Grey Journal.
yeah,
Mhm.
Bray Journal
Sorry.
talks about that a little bit. So, it's
With
possible.
Sundaresh.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, because Maya Sundaresh was one of those researchers, and
Mhm.
it could be something like this that I think it was the last page of the Aspect lore book actually talks about Praedith. I think it was Praedith was able to. He was stuck in the Vex network through the Vault of Glass, and he was able to actually communicate somewhat with the researchers who were stuck. And they found apparently they found a way to send some information through. And in Destiny 1, that's kind of how we learned about him, which I think it's kind of brilliant. Basically, Praedith was lost in time, unwritten from reality, from the timeline, and then a piece of him kind of made it through margins of a text, and we're like, what? And we go and investigate that, and I think that the Vault of Glass could be, if not, maybe if this is not what's directly discussed about or written about in the in the actual story of whatever season that the Vault comes with, it could be hidden in the lore that it has to do with them as well, about the people in the Vex network. I don't know if we'll ever rescue them totally, or if they'll have anything interesting to tell us, but yeah, it could be something that they bring back, because it's a very Destiny thing to do, to be like, hey, remember that thing we mentioned 2 seasons ago? No? Well, it's important now.
And that would be cool, actually, if we could bring back the
That
rest
is
of that
very
original
good.
fire team.
Yeah.
Because right now, we
Yes.
just know that it was Pahanin, Kabir, and Praedith.
Yeah.
Ishkar Collective even has on their like web store that whole kind of t-shirt design where it's like this and this and this and this and this.
Right. Yeah.
On there, and it says like Kabir and Pradith and Fahanad and blank and blank and blank. It's kind of funny if you understand the lore behind it.
Yeah.
So that would be fun to see.
Yeah.
To be honest, I just
Yeah.
got back Saint 14, and I'm still waiting to see like how he really ties into things now that he's back. But like, it wouldn't surprise me if they brought back other characters in the same way.
Yeah. I mean, and with
Yeah.
Saints specifically, two really specific ties, right? The Vex and the Fallen. We saw in one of those narrative web lores, Osiris talking to Saint, basically saying, "You need to talk to the House of Light." And Saint was like, you know they don't really like me, right? Because the whole I went on a crusade thing. And Osiris is like, "Look, we live too long to hold grudges. We need to work towards some kind of a peace." And so, I mean, you
Yeah.
could do that. I mean, imagine a season. Saint is a fan favorite. Imagine a season where Saint was being pulled in two directions, both by his concern over the Vault of Glass and the Vex, and his, I don't know, like the
Remember when I headbutted your Kel?
yeah,
Right.
and the Fallen. So yeah, I think speaking.
Or possibly.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Or possibly, you bring up Saint being torn in two ways. Maybe, possibly Saint, given his history with the Fallen, he may be the right, the right person to extend the hand. Saying, "I've grown. Here I am, someone who, waged war against your people. I wish to make peace.
Yeah.
Let me be the olive branch," kind of the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Saint would do that. That's within his
Yeah,
character.
he would. He's so pure.
Good questions being brought up in chat that are relevant. The question was, and thanks Pens and Dude for bringing it to our attention. The question is, if we can bring Saint back, can we bring Kabir back? I would say no for two reasons. One, Saint's coming back was... Let's start cynical and then go more specific. Saints coming back was plot armor done well, I would say. Basically, it was a very...
I would give it that.
Yeah, a very special case that was done well and then kind of not apologized for, but explained how it was a very unique kind of thing. And the other reason, really, Saint, like, no matter where we pulled him from in the timeline, he was still a person. Kabir is like connected to the Vex radial area, and I mean, you could argue that maybe you could go back to a point where he wasn't like that, but I would argue that his consumption of radial area, his connection to the Vex network, I think he's a little too in the soup of things to be able to be extracted from it. And also, a little meta narratively, why would we? I mean, like, you want to save people, sure, but like bringing Saint back was a legendary character that was a fan favorite and such. Bringing Kabir back would be, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of work for not a lot of, narrative reason.
And then you think
Kabir...
about...
Go ahead.
Well, you think about the whole question that was brought up as well during that same season. If we can bring Saint back, can we bring back Cade? Well, yes, possibly, but really, if you look at it logically, no, because there's no point that we are aware of in any of the story beats where Cade was within the Vex network as much as Saint was. Yes, there is that one time during the Red War, but that was just a teleporter teleporting him around Nessus.
Yeah.
He wasn't within their programming.
And that's what I mean, is that
like Saint was.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, Destiny is set up all... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just saying that we could bring Cade back a different way if we wanted to, but
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So just a quick question from the chat. So in the Vault of Glass, the original fire team that went in to investigate the Vault of Glass, Kabir was the Titan in that fire team. And in the Vault of Glass raid, halfway through, you could find a relic, a shield that you could use to cleanse yourself of a corruption in the vault. And it turns out that that relic was actually Kabir's ghost, that Kabir had become prey to the Vex. And so in a desperate attempt to make sure that the next fire team that came in after him wouldn't suffer the same fate, he turned his ghost into one final weapon / shield to save people. So yeah, that's who we're talking about. And yeah, that's
so interesting.
Kabir. Oh, there's another question brought up following that. Meme Lord asked, was Kabir a physical being? Yes, he was an actual person. He was a guardian.
He was a guardian.
yeah.
But he drank Vex milk, and basically the corruption from the Vex, it turns you into a Vex, like with Asher. How his arm, there's lots of pieces of lore where the nanobots, or whatever you would call them, that are the actual Vex beings, are invading his systems, and he talks about how his heart and his blood vessels could possibly already be Vex. Asher was physically turning into Vex.
Yeah.
Because of that corruption. Kabir did so by drinking the Radalaria.
Yeah, because Asher's ghost had a red eye. It talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
His lore.
Yep. So I mean, we'll have to see how they tie it back. Interestingly enough, if you go to which one is it? If you go to a lost sector on the moon, which one? It's the one in the Anchor of Light. I'm trying to find it.
The K1 Communion or the...
Yes, I think it's Communion. Let me check. It is. Yeah, in the Anchor of Light, the right side, you can actually see there are terminals there that have never been on. They've always been just sitting there, computer screens that are now lit up that say Venus.
Oh, they're in every lost sector. I checked.
Oh yeah, okay. I only saw them
Yeah, they're in every lost sector now.
When did those switch on?
I saw.
A couple of weeks ago.
I saw. Yeah, I only heard about it last
What?
week, and I saw the.
You go back and investigate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on now. They've got the 3 different locations from Venus that we visited in D1.
And we know that whole terminal being on thing is a thing because we had terminals on signaling Varix communicating to us from Europa for some time.
True.
On
Yeah.
this.
So I mean that they're gonna bring. We know Vault is coming back. It's connected to Venus. We don't know. We didn't know if they were. I mean, they could bring Venus back. They could bring a piece of Venus back. They could bring none of Venus back and just be like, yeah, here's the node to access the Vault, or go to the Vault through. I mean, what's left? Nessus. Because like even with the rules that Destiny has set up, the Vex are an interconnected network. So it's like, well, no, now you can just go to the Vault of Glass through Nessus because it's all connected. Or, maybe you'll bring Venus back. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Question, bringing things back.
There's game physics and then there's Vex game physics.
True, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, paracausality. Just go with that.
Paracausality, yeah. Well, the Vex aren't paracausal beings, so there's
No,
Vex
they are not.
physics.
They are not. Okay.
Yeah, so bringing things a little back closer, one step at a time. Where was it? Something about why did Kyatal is the Callus's daughter. Why did she not help her father stop the Midnight Coup? So some context for anybody in chat. The Midnight Coup, not only being a hand cannon that everybody loved for about 3 years, Callus was the emperor of the Cabal, and he got overthrown by Gaul and others. And one of those others included Kyatal, his own daughter. And you can read about that in the in the collector's edition lore for Destiny 2, I couldn't find it for the longest time because for some reason it's not on Ishtar. It's briefly talked about on Destinypedia, but not like to the full extent. But you can actually go out and find copies of it or whatever, and I did. And it talks about all of like the lieutenants that were responsible for basically overturning Callus's regime. And so the question is, why didn't she stop it? Well, I mean, the short answer is she didn't want it. She didn't want to stop it. She wanted him to be overturned.
Because get good, scrub.
Yeah, I only have a little bit of experience with the whole Kayada lore, but from what, because I mean, I came in after Season of Opulence when I started.
Right.
So again, with the whole new light literally being a new light only a year. But from what I know of Kayada, from what little I've read, it seemed like she wanted to go back to the whole war for war's sake idea with the Cabal, and that she was disillusioned with her father's opulence and that whole idea of spoils rather than conquest to expand the empire. But y'all would know more about that than me.
No,
That's
I mean,
just
you hit the nail on the head. We didn't really get much about specifics of the Cabal Empire in Destiny 1. Like, we knew a bit about organizational structure, but not really specific people other than, you know, we hit a war with the Cabal on Mars.
Valistor.
Yeah.
That's my bad, Saval.
Yeah.
The Cabal were really interesting because they're a race that we just can't seem to get rid of, that we know almost nothing about. We know a lot more about every other race in Destiny, including the Vex, than actually the Cabal. We understand the way some of their hierarchy, but we know nothing about, hardly much about their homeworld, other than the fact that they ravaged it. We don't know if they were touched by the Traveler or not. They seem to know about the Traveler and all its other names.
Yeah.
I don't believe they were touched by the Traveler. I don't think they were ever received the powers of light.
No.
But through the course of steamrolling other civilizations, they keep grabbing the best of all the different technologies. And I cannot remember what lore book it was in, but Callus mentions how he doesn't understand why Gaul didn't use some of the technology that the Cabal Empire had that was able to defeat the light.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in, I can't remember if it's Confessions or the Chronicon, but during
probably Confessions, because the Chronicon is fanfic.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah,
that is something actually.
I love that's canon fanfic.
Oh yeah, right. So that is something for like new light and kindergartens to understand, that if you go searching through the lore and you go into Confessions and there's all these wild, oh my god, what is happening here stories, those are stories that were created by Callus's scribes as entertainment for him. So
yeah, / potential like prophecy, but not really, you know.
Yeah, they're not
a
really
nod to all of us fanfic writers.
Yeah, so but
it is a book of all fanfic.
But yeah, TowerMom, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, essentially, the Cabal Empire is like it. The Cabal Empire was established in the writing as a kind of traditional, like Roman Empire: expand, assimilate, conquer. But with Callus, he basically, what he did is he started looking at things and going, okay, but look, we are absorbing all of this technology. We are absorbing all of these different cultures. We can do that, and we can congregate. We don't have to. It's weird because it's not
Nero.
Yeah, and it's not an altruistic thing. It's not he's not doing it out of the kindness of his heart. But the difference is where Gaul would want to crush weakness, Callus's approach is, I will just only take strength, and I will take everything. I will control everything. and essentially Gaul and the rest of the group, including Callus's own daughter, said, no, that's weakness. Our civilization's getting lazy. We're falling apart. Callus would be the one to say, look, we have assimilated cultures of poets. Why don't we have the best music in the universe? And Kyatul and Gaul would say, music is irrelevant. Crush it. Yeah, we will destroy everything.
The only music should be the drums of war.
Yeah, right.
If you will.
So yeah, and the reason I say that that's a bit of a stepping stone, bringing us back to kind of the present story, is that we've heard a little bit of Kyatul in the last little while. She was only mentioned, as far as I remember, in the Destiny 2 Collector's Edition, which says what I just said about her working against her father. Then she may have been referenced in dialogue, definitely lore in Season of Opulence. And finally, she was mentioned twice more recently. During Season of Worthy, the lore card for the Fourth Horseman basically sounds like a like, I'm not done here, and I will unite the Cabal under my common cause. From Kyatul's perspective, it seems like she's going to be the new emperor, and the last time it was that she was referenced was something similar. Some more, I believe it's web lore, where Osiris is tracking down signals, trying to find out what's been happening to the solar system once the darkness was here. And
was she mentioned in Immolant Part 2, I think it was?
Yeah, she was mentioned as, like, all the Cabal were being called back to her to assemble. So
Oh yes, to her loving bosom or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Weird.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. There is something interesting when you look through. Was it the seasonal trailer or something, where there was a 3-second shot or something of Zavala, Osiris, standing between two Cabal, looking at kind of like a Cabal map or something. I was going to mention
that, yeah.
And we still haven't seen that yet. That's a storyline that hasn't happened yet in
that was in the main Beyond Light trailer.
Right.
I think it was the release trailer.
Yeah.
So it could be one of the seasons maybe later on, before the next expansion comes out.
That's a good point, but I feel like everything else we've seen in that trailer we have seen in the game already. Like I'd have to go back and to watch that to see, but it does feel like we've seen it already, which means we should be seeing that soon. If that's true.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Well, we know, so I haven't done much of the seasonal content just yet, but we know that Zivorath is kind of setting those spires that attract either the Fallen and the Cabal to them, and it corrupts them into kind of like hive variants of themselves.
Yep.
So... And in that one little scene that we're referencing right now, Zavala's standing between the Cabal, don't know what rank they are, irrelevant. They're looking at a hologram image of the pyramid ship, or a pyramid ship. So we're definitely, it seems like more of a forming alliances against a common enemy type thing.
Yeah.
Possibly,
Pens with a quick question saying, oh, sorry, go ahead, Trans, go ahead.
I was just asking, are we talking about the trailer image of Zavala with Osiris next to Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. A quick clarification. Penn says, wasn't the end season cutscene leak/data mine? Maybe it's part of that. We won't talk too much about that, but I will say that cutscene seems to be somewhere else and someone else. It doesn't seem to be connected to this. It could be connected story-wise, but it would be like saying, well, there was a cutscene of a kitchen, and we're talking about the cutscene to the garden. They're not directly connected, as far as I can tell. I heard
I
it.
wouldn't even know about that.
Yeah,
I haven't.
I've heard.
I try and stay away from the data mining
Yeah,
myself. I
we
like
have a
to,
we have a
to discover in game.
exactly. Yeah, we have a pretty non spoiler spoiler free zone here. So I appreciate Pens you bringing it up in the kind of vague way that you did. But
Sleeping and mining Destiny, seriously.
Right.
no, I mean
That's why I didn't want to spoil too much about the strike for Hyper in case you
Yeah.
haven't done the strike yet.
but yeah,
Really appreciated, but yeah, okay.
yeah.
Continue.
I one theory that was brought up that's interesting, which may be a bit more challenging given everything that's happened. Someone was saying maybe Zavala and Osiris are not there. Maybe it's like a Ghost of Christmas Past kind of thing, and Osiris is like taking Zavala to see something through his like time vex whatever mechanics.
Oh.
And I don't know if that can hold true anymore because of
his cubes.
yeah, I don't know if it can hold because of recent happenings with Osiris and the fact the Infinite Forest is not here and blah blah blah. But I did think that
Yeah.
was a really interesting take, that maybe that cutscene isn't exactly real, because you don't. It's not like you see Zavala bent over a desk like pointing to a map that another Cabal is like pointing to. They're standing between two Cabal who could be looking at each other or could be looking at Osiris and Zavala.
And they're both kind of in the background. Like, I didn't even notice that Osiris was in there the first time that I saw the cutscene. I thought it was just Zavala playing politician.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that
I didn't even see him.
I do think that they will be physically there. I don't think it's that kind of shenanigans, but I think that's a really interesting idea anyway. But yeah, we're gonna have to see. I should go back and watch that trailer because, like I said, I have a feeling we've seen everything else. But yeah,
It might be a closer to like an end of season thing.
could be
Because they've been leaning more into the seasons as far as a vehicle for lore delivery and story delivery. Aside from the live events, which I love it that they're doing live events just as a final send-off for the season.
Mm-hmm.
But different bits of the quote seasonal campaign do get released at different time frames. So maybe it's just time locked, and we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
And
Gosh, so many people complaining about things not coming out as quickly as they want them to, and it's like, well, it's just the beginning of the season.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the beginning of the
relax.
expansion. The beginning of the season. Just calm down,
Yeah.
guys.
yeah,
And
Get
then some
your
of the
loot and
Facebook
enjoy
groups.
the game.
Yeah, in some of the Facebook groups that I'm in, people are really beginning to push back against people who complete the season pass like in the first 2 days or in the
Oh,
first
yeah.
day.
I mean,
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen
Like,
people
it's
at
been
like
a
level
full week.
200, 250. It's like, what in the world are you doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
go ahead.
people just jump on them. It's like, guys, stop. All right, this is supposed to last us 3 months. You just did it in a day, in 2 days.
Yeah.
Relax.
There's
If you know lifing in a game, I'm concerned, honestly, if that many people are beating and first of all, you can't even beat the game because Destiny's a game that's like, it evolves on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Every-
there's always time lock
yesterday-
content.
Change the next day.
Okay, calm down.
yeah. I mean,
I
go ahead.
Just saying how I've made it a practice these days to play Destiny until I get to seasonal rank 100 or close enough to it, and then I go play something else
Mhm.
for the remainder of the season, unless something special comes through, or like one of the time locked events finally gets unlocked, and we can go into this new secret room that was locked behind a door before. But outside of those instances, just so I don't get burned out and I still enjoy the game, I like to
Yeah.
uh,
And
just play something else. Like right now, I'm playing Cyberpunk. Before that, I was working my way through the Yakuza series, just so I don't get bored and just burned out on the game.
oh yeah, burning out on any game is, especially Destiny, it's far too common, and it's something you can control, but people don't. And I mean, on the one hand, cool that Destiny is so like loved and enjoyable that people are like ravenously coming in to consume the content. But yeah, it's gotta be in moderation. You gotta understand your limits, and that's a whole other conversation that I'll just put a little bit of a pin in. But yeah, the greater Destiny community, like these content creators that push through the game, there is some minor sympathy for their situation. And what I mean by that is the way that YouTube works, the way that certain things work. If you're not first, you're last, and some of them feel this pressure a little too much, and they don't adapt to it, and they just race through it. And yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. People saying like how little there is to do and blah blah blah. I mean, I have a friend who's just getting back into Destiny, and he doesn't, say, you were just mentioning at the beginning of the call, Hyper, about like, just all the other family priorities and stuff like that. And he's like, oh my God, there's just so much. And there is a lot. I mean, the campaign is short-ish. That's fine. A lot of Destiny campaigns generally are short, and it's meant to be a vehicle to be like, all right, here's the story, you're done, go and explore the rest of the thing. But all of the fragments and aspects and the sabotage missions and the Empire hunts and the raid, it's like these people who are done this stuff in, I don't know, 2 days or whatever, they just they need some perspective. And Trams and I have talked quite a lot about this, and I will say, for any content creator out there who no lifes this game and they're pushing the end game, remember, if you're a content creator, you can make content. You don't have to wait on Bungie.
Any content.
Yeah, you don't have to rely on Bungie to make content for you. Yes, it's better when there's more weapons and more stuff, and if you've put yourself into a position where that's what you focus on, yeah, okay. But also, you can make content on anything. I played Destiny blindfolded the other day.
It was great. It was awesome.
It's nothing new, but it's something different, and you got to be careful. So chat, definitely be careful of burning out. And when it comes to the story, these things are meant to take place over time. And as frustrating as it can be, I mean, we're going from a game that used to not update for like half a year, where stories were introduced and then never discussed again. And now we're getting points where, whoa, that thing that was mentioned last season, it's developed, or that character's choice is growing. And I want to say, just I've been talking a lot here, and I'll hand the mic over in a second, but you mentioned earlier about seasons being the driver of the story forward and the deliverer of story and content. I have to say, I've been really impressed with what I've seen in the last couple of seasons on that front. The fact that the seasons sometimes, okay, during the season of Shadowkeep, yeah, there was the season seemed very disconnected. It was like, okay, now we're going left, now we're going right, whatever. But I've been really impressed with how big things are happening and things are moving forward. And I guess with that, let's get some perspective from you guys on what you think about Season of the Hunt and any lore related to that. How have you been feeling about the season?
I'm really excited personally.
I'm just happy that we're actually seeing the third sister, Ziva Arath, finally making an appearance.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, because this is a long time coming. Again, going as a Destiny 1 veteran, the Books of Sorrow were introduced was it year 2 of D1?
I think so.
With the Taken King?
Yeah, I think so.
So we've heard this name for the past like 6 years or so with like nothing. And then in Forsaken, we got a few named champions where it was like the anger or the fury of Ziva Arath. There was a few taken champions, but like that's it. We knew nothing about her whereabouts, nothing about what she's been up to, just nothing at all. So to finally actually see the aspect of war actually making an appearance and making herself known. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's very
Mhm.
huge.
Speaking of huge, I just want to interrupt before I let the rest of you speak. We received a donation for our charity here. I apologies for the delay on that, but I just got the notification. I'm a little bit delayed. Chat, look at the top of the screen. We've reached $950 as a community. Pens Halo, thank you so much for the donation.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah,
Let's
thank you for that. That is awesome. So yeah, chat. I said it a little while ago. Maybe you've been too engrossed in the story or making fun of each other in the chat. I see you. We are working on the Game2Give charity event. The link is popping up here. Every donation of $10 or more enters you into a whole bunch of prize draws. If we reach $1,000, then our team will be entered in to possibly win an Xbox One or PS4. And if that happens, you can guarantee that that will be turned back as a prize in the community. So there's a lot of stuff you can win. All the money goes to helping kids, children's hospitals. Check out the link for more. But yeah, thank you so much. But yeah, go back to the season and Zevul Wrath. Keep going.
Mhm.
I mean, I could keep going for far too long.
Tramps, how about you?
Because,
You've been a little quiet on your end. How are you feeling about the season and all the story and lore surrounding the season?
It's like I've actually been really surprised. There is just a lot. There's a whole lot in this season. Whether you're talking about lore or gameplay, what I love is that Destiny's delivering on many things that people probably aren't paying attention to, especially with like overall world development. Like I like to load in on different maps and just observe it for a while and see how the mechanics work for like enemy types or things that characters say, and like it evolves. Like you see things happen. Like for example, on like the Vex, I think somebody on Twitter had pointed out how they noticed that Vex activity seemed a little bit more aggressive on certain maps or certain missions and stuff like that, or certain types of Vex units were more prominent. So I jumped into the game and I was like, okay, let me test this out. And I think I did. I think I went to Nessus, and I'd kind of noticed that. I'd also noticed that depending on your loadout, some enemies will run away from you as soon as they see you. Like you need to fire at least one shot, but they start to back away. Like I went to Nessus today and I had the Thorn equipped, and so I fired a shot to the ground and I saw 3 harpies run away from me as opposed to come toward me. Obviously they'd taken no damage yet, but it was just little things like that that I think make
Okay, really quick to clarify that a little bit. That's actually in the patch notes, that as part of the like next year of Destiny, where it's essentially Destiny 3, except we're sticking with the number 2, that they revamped their engine, or they're using a new engine in the game, and it was actually stated that you will notice that some enemies actually will act differently. So that's actually part of like the major update with Beyond Light.
I think I might. Yeah, I think.
So
I
it's
think
not just behavioral lore based, but actual game.
Like in-game engine, game engine.
Okay,
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah, that's cool, Trams. I mean, like and Hyper. I remember reading that patch note, but I just thought it meant like, oh, okay,
They'll move a little differently.
Yeah, or like, well, like
Yeah.
something we've been talking about here. It does seem like the Taken are able to replicate and swarm more aggressively than before. I go doing the prophecy dungeon. I'm like, there are more enemies here than before. Like I literally, there was one point I could not touch the ground in the final boss mission because it was full of what are they? Are they scions? Like the
ones that
dudes
split
that
are the
split?
scion.
Yeah, those are the scions.
And I'm just like, this doesn't seem like it was before, and I'm just sitting here thinking, well, I'm really glad that I'm not on an original like Xbox because like Xbox One, because I remember public events at the beginning of Destiny 2 like slowing down my system, but yeah, so that's interesting, Trams, that you're seeing that. I mean, I remember, I pointed out to a few people that Osiris is in the tower. He
Yes,
he-
he
he's
is.
over by the bazaar, and they're. I've been impressed with how this season has done an excellent job of going, okay, there's lore and there's story, and they're very much connected. Normally, it'll be like, how do I define this? So if you watch like the Marvel movies, for example, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television show would tell a lot of like details behind the scenes, connecting dots, exploring depth of things, and then every once in a while things would group up for the for the movies. And that's kind of how I felt Destiny
Mhm.
was for a while, where it was like, well, big events in the DLC, and the lore was where you went to really find the detail. But at the beginning of the season, you go to Zavala's office, and it's updated first off, so there's the decoration has changed, which shows an improved like presence and operation, and the dialogue that you can kind of hear off of his system, it's straight out of the lore. It's straight out of Imulan Part 1 and 2. It's Osiris telling the Vanguard, like, I'm coming, there's some danger, like, blah, blah, blah. And the fact that that's there, because not everybody wants to or can or knows where to read lore. And so it's great that they're narrowing that gap a little bit. It's kind of like when a character will say one or two lines of their dialogue, the important stuff, and then if you read, like, you go talk to an NPC and they'll give you the two lines that are important, and then and then the rest of the paragraph is like, if you want the full detail or whatever. And that's
Right.
being done, I think, much better now than ever before. If you don't read a single piece of lore, but if you just hear the dialogue, like we were talking about earlier, you'll know what's going on. And I definitely think that's a big improvement over how things have been done before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A couple of things I wanted to add, kind of bringing into the stream cast, and going back to what Tram said about enemy types possibly behaving differently. I know you said it wasn't an IP thing now, but also the strike that you're doing. There are fewer and fewer instances where I do this strike where I see Elixni outside of the area where we have to where we're outside.
Okay.
Fewer and fewer instances where the Elixni are the primary enemies of the strike instead of the Cabal. It's now almost always Cabal, and that it's almost like they're consolidating their forces, and the Elixni are either being, this is just me kind of going off on my own creative mind, but maybe those Elixni that we had been seeing in that strike, in the arms dealer strike, were, being that they're on Earth, that they're Terran Elixni, to coin the term, the Latin term Terra for Earth, that they're Terran Elixni who were possibly born and even raised or lived the majority of their lives on Earth, that they're aligning with Mithrax almost like intrinsically because he is on Earth, as far as we last knew, from the what was it, the Outbreak Perfected mission. He was at the farm.
Yes.
Maybe those Elixni are aligning with him intrinsically, and he's saying, hey, don't go to this area. This is a no-go area for us. We don't want to be, fighting with the Guardians. Let the Cabal do their thing,
I gotta say,
I've noticed that a lot more too.
I gotta say, if that is happening and it's not just, coincidental or whatever, that would be amazing, because
That would be an incredible story beat.
Well, it's an incredible story beat, but it goes back to this idea of the world being more alive. I mean, we've talked about these strikes.
Yeah.
We've been doing these strikes for 3 years, and other than new weapons to chase or new like triumphs or whatever, in a lot of ways there's not much of a reason to go back and do these strikes. Like you do your 3 things and you're out, right? And I've been saying that it would be great if mechanically we could have more incentive. One of the things I was saying is like if there was either a seasonal or a DLC related mechanic or theme, if that could be mixed into Strikes and Gambit. I was really hoping we were going to get javelins and mechs in Strikes and Gambit during season of Worthy.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe they didn't do it because it's a lot, and they at the time, stuff was going in for a season and out at the end of the season. But now that we know seasons are carrying forward a bit with their content, I am hoping that we see more of that mechanically, some kind of motif or theme or different mechanics. And from the
I hope we start getting a stasis burn in Strikes, like we get the weekly solar arc and Void.
It's weird. I think on
So we did actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think we got on like the second day. For me, it was both arc and stasis, which I found really
Oh.
yeah. But I haven't seen it again. I don't know. Maybe I missed it or whatever. But lore-wise, yeah. If we start seeing changes in, like, oh, this is a Vex only strike, and now it's Cabal for some reason, and then we find out it's because of whatever, something is happening with the story, or if the races start acting a bit more dynamically, which I think is possible. I'm always an optimist here, and Bungie does seem to be improving their engine and their cadence of content. I think that I think that could be something we see more of, and that's really exciting, because I think Bungie may have started realizing that even players who don't care about that. And what I mean is, during Season of Worthy, a lot of people were really frustrated with that season. They felt bored, they felt annoyed, irritated, frustrated, for a number of reasons. But Trams has been saying this a few times, right? That the lore became more important for a lot of people in that season, because they needed something to latch onto to connect them back. And you got creators like Paul Tassi, who's usually writing articles on, like, guns and things like that, and he started getting into the lore because he was like, basically, I needed something to do. And you have players who are normally PvP content creators who are making videos like, hey, Osiris is in the tower, or hey, did you notice that there are like triangle ships on this map in this bunker, and they're closer? I think they're closer, guys. I think Bungie is
Paul's even doing a tower watch.
Exactly. And I think I think that Bungie is maybe they've always known this, but I feel like they're more consciously aware of that, and they are pushing that forward. They know that if they make changes like that, people will find them. They've always known that because they've always done that with Destiny. But I think they're realizing that this could be a way to keep players invested, and it makes their world more alive. And I'm all for that. I'm all for, again, it's these changes that the dedicated players or the lucky players, they find out about, and then they share it with the community, and then eventually it gets expanded on, right? Osiris has been in the tower for 2 weeks. He's done nothing. And the players who are more observant will find him. And then eventually a quest marker will pop up, and you'll have to go talk to him. And so I like this model of, I like this.
They build things very slowly.
Yeah.
Very slowly.
Yeah, but then
They did a really good nod to that too. If I may,
Yeah.
they did kind of a really cute nod to that. With the new light quest. You know how when we were bored and playing around in the tower, once we got Zavala's office to open up, what did people do? They went in trying to find, hidden stuff in Zavala's office. What was one of the first things we found? His MP3 player with Shax's size. And what did what did they do in the Beyond Light missions and or the New Light mission now?
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not spoiling anything for you.
Don't worry about it.
There is a line of dialogue from our ghost where he says, "Don't touch Zavala's music,"
Yeah.
and we can no longer play Shaxercise. Like the devs noticed that, and they put that in. Like, you know, I'm sure it's loud enough and it's played often enough. What happens when you hear your favorite song a bajillion times? You get tired of it and you don't want to hear it anymore. It's a very human thing to bring in and bring that connection in. That was the first thing I did when I played the New Light mission and I got to my tower instance was, I'm gonna find Shaxercise. I'm gonna see if I can play it. And then I hear my ghost say, "Don't touch his music." I was like, oh my god, it's so cute.
Yeah, there's some
But they
good
see that.
Yeah, I have to say that I feel like Bungie does a really good job of keeping consistency between lore and gameplay and lore and story. And you know, I don't play many other games anymore. I'm really all in on Destiny, and I like when they do that, when they acknowledge that and they expand on it. We've seen a lot of community jokes become in the game and done well. I mean, I'm pretty sure Vex Milk was not a thing that anybody really, like, in the writer staff had really thought of or said. And then in Destiny 2, our ghost says it. Now maybe I'm wrong on that one, but
And so does Asher.
right, and we've seen a number of cases where Bungie has kind of nodded to the community and said, you know, we see you, and we'll bring that in.
There's talking about the Vex. So in Destiny 1, there was the Vanguard bounty right in the juice box where you had to get crit kills on Vex.
True. Yeah, I remember.
I actually
Oh my
purchased
god, that's awesome.
Yep, right in the. That's what it was called. The bounty was called right in the juice box or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I actually bought for my son the children's book D is for Destiny.
Oh, nice.
It's this amazing children's book that goes through all the letters of the alphabet, and each page, you know, different letter, and there's a few lines that talk about this. Like, it's a quatrain basically that talks about that letter somehow within the context of the Destiny universe. And for the Vex, they have this little, you know, playful looking Vex just kind of sitting there, and there's a juice box in the Vex's hand.
No, there
I'm like,
isn't.
That is so adorable.
That's so cute. I need that book now.
Yep, D is for, and it's legitimately a really good storybook. Like, when the COVID pandemic started up, everyone was doing like the celebrity read a children's book, and you know, I can read to your child. So I got on and I did, all right, well, since everyone's doing this and I've been doing a lot of Destiny stuff, I am going to read to you D is for Destiny. So on my YouTube, there is a video of me reading to whoever wants to listen, D is for Destiny, the Destiny children's book. And it's there if anyone wants to go look for it.
Nice. Oh, that's great. Well, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to probably wrap this up a little bit soon. For Trams and myself, it's
Midnight.
It's officially tomorrow for us. Yeah, Trams, you still awake over there?
Oh yeah.
Yep, I'm still on.
All right, but yeah, this has been very awesome, and I want to thank you guys for coming in here and for taking the time and doing this. I mean, I think we should definitely, you know, do this kind of thing more often. It's great to have all of the perspectives and you know, the excitement and a lot of different coverage. I mean, we all cover Destiny in different ways and different different perspectives. So yeah, maybe just as an outro, closing remarks, and then yeah, reminder of where we can find you. So we'll start with you, Tramps. Go ahead.
Really enjoyed it. It was fun. Like, I think we should definitely make this regular thing.
Sorry.
And,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, my audio cut out there.
Yeah, if you want to catch my lore videos, you can catch me on youtube.com/SarmLab. And yeah, hopefully to see some of you there.
Nice. And you, Hyper, go on.
The best place to find me is going to be on Twitter, and that is at Hypersyntax, HYP3RSINT4X. That'll be the easiest place and where I do most of my community type building. And from there, you'll get a link to my YouTube channel, and there's links that go to all my other contacts. But I'm basically Hypersyntax everywhere. If it's a social network and I am on it, I am the one and only Hypersyntax on that.
Awesome. TowerMom?
I am TowerMom here on Twitch. I am also TowerMom on Twitter, but it's at DestinyMom3. Somehow I could not get the TowerMom tag. But if you also want to find my my Let's Plays, again, I don't just play Destiny, but I also do Let's Plays of lots of different games up on YouTube, and that is youtube.com/BastyDragon, BASTYDRAGON.
Excellent. All right, and chat, you know where to find me. I'm right here, Kaz_PhD on Twitch, Embrace Destiny on YouTube, and Kaz_PhD on Twitter. You can find me at any of those places. Yeah, so again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for taking the time. I think we had a really good time here. A lot of kind of loose but structured event. We're definitely gonna have to do this a bit more often. There's a lot of lore to get through. Maybe we'll pick some specific topics and go really spin-foily deep into the lore next time. Start throwing out crazy theories and stuff.
Get that spinfoil hat on, guys.
Yes, I was very disappointed. While this is for the chat, while we were prepping for this stream, I had made the suggestion that we all need to mock each other's spinfoil theories. So I am slightly disappointed that we did not get to a spinfoil, but we did have lots of great discussion on a variety of topics.
Yeah, definitely a good one.
Absolutely.
So what we're gonna do, chat, is I'm gonna finish out this strike here. I'm going to we're going to do a bit of an outro, and then I will be right back. So, right, so for the case of anybody watching this on YouTube later, I'm going to put all the links down in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you had a good time and you're enjoying Destiny out there. Take the time to just look around, check things out. You never know what you're going to find or what joke or reference Bungie is going to play on you in the game. So, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.